I had been avoiding making a video about BookTok, and then I saw Kieran's video over at KD Books. Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to a discussion about BookTok, a subject which I know very little. I don't have a TikTok, I'm not on there, I don't watch content there, but I certainly have seen a lot about BookTok on YouTube lately. The latest was I saw Kieran's video over at KD Books, and as I said in the comment section on his video, I think his take is the definitive take. He essentially argues, I think quite rightly, that BookTok and even BookTube are not really a place for intellectualism. They're a place for discussion, a place for enjoyment, a place for sharing things that you're interested in or you're excited about. And certainly, TikTok with the short form videos that are, basically what it's all about, perhaps even more so. And so at first I wasn't going to, make a response video to Kieran, but I thought I would because being an old man, I have opinions, and God forbid an old man not share his opinions with everybody. So again, I agreed with everything Kieran said in his video, and nothing I say here is in any way meant to be seen as taking him to task at all, because I think he was absolutely right. There's a couple of things that I thought, and they're not necessarily original things, but a couple of things I thought that I would say on this topic. So the topic that Kieran covered is kind of anti-intellectualism in BookTok. And his point was, in his video, that because the videos were short, of course they're not intended to be particularly intellectual. And then he, as I said, made the connection to YouTube. And I just go a little bit beyond that by saying that just because something doesn't appear to be intellectual doesn't mean it's actually anti-intellectual. What anti-intellectualism means is you're actually intentionally doing things that are not intellectual as a way of, proving a point to intellectuals in a sense, or as a way of refuting the ideas of intellectualism or of intellectuals. And that's really not what's happening. I don't think people on BookTok are making short videos about the kind of books that people associate with BookTok, romantasy, fantasy books, things like that. They're not doing that to thumb their nose at intellectualism. They're doing that because they're having a good time, because it's fun. I think if you find yourself questioning how serious they are as readers, then you have taken a step down the road to what I would refer to as kind of book snobbery. You're assuming that their motives are not actual enthusiasm and excitement and enjoyment, and that there's something else. And I think that is a problematic kind of approach to take. I think looking down on the kind of books that BookTokers seem to be recommending most often, whether it's Fourth Wing or A Court of Thorn and Roses or whatever the latest one of those kind of titles is, or whatever romance novel that they're reading is, I think that kind of book snobbery, that kind of judgment is out of place, and something I think that most of the people who engage in it would eventually regret. Additionally, I've seen a lot of these BookTok videos because they do interest me, and I have seen several people, I think, quite effectively defend BookTok and BookTokers by saying, that there's more to BookTok than just those, 5 or 6 titles that we all might think of or might associate with BookTok, and there's more to it than kind of the breathless discussion of spicy scenes in books or things like that. That there are BookTokers who cover literary fiction, who talk about classics, who talk about true crime or whatever. That all genres are covered there, and oftentimes perhaps more sober, perhaps more serious way. Even though, again, get back to Kieran's point, it's not really intellectual, and nor is it intended to be. So I did want to point out that the surface we see and the rumors or the reputation of BookTok is probably far worse than it actually is. And the other thing I'd point out, and this is probably the least original thing I'm going to say, is that I think that there is a fair bit of just hating on things that young women like in this backlash against BookTok. This is something that has come to my attention is real, and certainly something I've probably done in my lifetime, making fun of my wife's choice of music when we were younger or whatever it was. But there is a certain amount of that in our society, and I don't think that's healthy. I think it's a bad thing. And so if we're just, attacking these book talkers because they're young women who are enthusing about the thing they're interested in, that seems awfully petty. And why would we want to make someone feel bad for the things that they like or the thing that they enjoy? The other thing I've seen about BookTok, and I'm not sure this is exactly what Kieran was covering in his video, is the idea that BookTok is somehow hurting publishing and hurting writers. I don't really think there's any real evidence that this is true. If anything, books that make it big on BookTok make a lot of money for the publisher of those books. That's why they're always out there searching for and seeking out the next big book like that. And I know it seems like this is something new, but it really isn't. Long before BookTok, there were the whole, there was a trend in vampire stories thanks to Twilight. And, we can go back throughout publishing history and find that even Gone with the Wind spawned a number of books kind of set in the same way or in the same time period, same kind of characters. If that's just something that happens in publishing, and publishing has a tendency to follow trends. So if right now publishing is following the trend of what's popular on BookTok seems to be driving publishing to a certain extent, that doesn't seem that much different or dangerous to me than other publishing trends that have been followed. I think a lot of what people believe is the harm in these books like Fourth Wing and the Court of Crown and Roses or Thorns and Roses is that people imagine that these books are pushing other authors out of the market, that other authors can't get published, that people's books, mid-list authors, can't get their books on shelves and things like that. And, to a certain extent, in a physical bookstore, which has a defined amount of space in which it can, sell books and display books, there might be a certain amount of truth of that. But a lot of you and I know that a lot of book selling now takes place online where there are no such limits really on shelf space. And so, a title can gain popularity and sell well and make money with its author and its publisher without necessarily having to occupy a lot of space inside bookstores. And I've seen people even express disgust at the tables that you'll find in Barnes and Nobles and other bookstores that have a sign that says "Popular on BookTok" or BookTok titles, and you have the stacks of the books there on those tables. But if you're worried about those books taking up shelf space from other books, the table should be the exact thing where you want them to be, because that means there's literally more space on shelves for other books. And I'd also say, now this is not something I have any necessarily evidence about, but I'd also say that what we see happening in publishing with the big publishers, swinging for the fences, going for the home run, giving out big advances, publishing perhaps samey books, trying to write these trends, is I think what we're seeing is an opportunity for independent publishers to attract better authors, to get authors to publish with them and to publish some really great books in all genres across all tastes and all levels. I can't help but point out that the big book of this year, James by Percival Everett, is the first book he's published with a Big Five publisher, and before that he was published by Grey Wolf Press. Just taking that book as an example, the success of James is helping Grey Wolf Press make money as well. And I think it's proof, as are Fitzcarraldo and other independent presses like And Other Stories or Two Line Press or Deep Vellum Press in Dallas, that there are these smaller independent publishers who are making a name for themselves, who are able to find excellent authors and publish excellent authors, oftentimes in kind of trade paperbacks, which are more affordable, better for consumers. I think there are all kinds of things that are going on beyond this idea of BookTok ruining publishers or BookTok destroying the market for writers. I think that contrary to that, they might be making more opportunities just with the big publishers. If they make millions of dollars from selling one of these books because it's popular on BookTok, then that gives them money that they can invest in authors who write very different books and authors who they don't have to expect as huge as sales from. And in some ways, I think that might give more opportunities for those authors. Like I said, I don't have any inside knowledge about the publishing world and the way it works, but that's just my feeling about what's going on. And again, I just don't think there's anything wrong with more people reading more books that make them happy, which is essentially, I think, what's happening or what you're seeing on BookTok. More people reading more books that make them happy. Anyway, there you go. There are my thoughts on this BookTok subject and whether or not it's damaging publishing, writing, whether it's not, it's anti-intellectual. I look forward to your comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.